Alright, so I'm back with another tutorial. This time I'm going to be doing the tutorial on my Chronos 2 as opposed to my regular Chronos. I'm trying to find a good setup to have my Chronos available almost full-time as a programming board, where this Chronos 88 or Chronos 288 will be my practice board, but I can't figure out a good way just yet. With the resources I have, I'm going to figure something out, but regardless, we're going to be doing the tutorial on the K2 today instead. So this time the tutorial is going to be on a song that is called The Cars Moving in Stereo. So the person that was requesting this originally requested just the opening sound, and I'm going to play that really quick. Okay, there's more to it than that, but that's basically the entirety of the sound. It just does a filter sweep. It doesn't sound like it's timed. It sounds like it's actually kind of a manual filter sweep. So the actual tone of the sound, this should be a fairly quick tutorial, I'm hoping, because the sound itself is really quite simple. It sounds slightly buzzy, just slightly buzzy, and it sounds like the majority of the sound is actually the filter sweep itself. It's high resonance, and it sounds like it's just the filter, not the filter pitch, but the filter frequency is the thing that's moving. So let's jump right on into it. So let's bring up my EE bank, and I'm using EE. Actually, I'll use my DD. I use DD because with this sound, instead of using a pre-made sample of a waveform, what I'm instead going to do is just use the AL1 synth. So first things first, let's get the filter, let's take the resonance, and we're going to bump this up quite a lot. And let's move where the resonance is. And let's make it really, really high resonance. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's listen to the original sound. Okay, so just listening to the sound, the resonance, it sounds like it's too resonant right now, so I'm just going to drop this down just a hair. And let's listen just to kind of get an idea again. Now I want to hear, what I'm listening for right now is not necessarily the underlying tone. I want to make sure that the pitch is correct. So meaning, when I brought this frequency down to like 55, 56, there. So you can actually hear the pitches. So this is E. So this would be a G sharp. That's going to be B. And you can kind of hear the D. And that's your ninth, so that's your E. You can hear it better there. There, we've got the third now. Excuse me, not your E, your F sharp, so this is G sharp. So 70 is my octave. Well, technically, I guess it's 2 octaves. So at 51, 51 is my octave resonance. 70 is 2 octaves. So it stands to reason that 60 is probably about, in between. There it is, right on the dot. 70. So you'll notice 80, 70, 60, 50, they're all octave-based harmonic frequencies or frequency ranges. What I want to do now is I want to go into the sound and listen to see what pitch does the sweep go from one end to the other? We can worry about the actual tone of the sound later. I just want to get the filter sweep range. So I'm debating, is it 50 or 60? So I want to listen to that again. Is it like 1 octave or 2 octaves above, right? Yeah, so I'm going to say my frequency range sweep starts at 50 or 51, I guess. Let's listen. Yeah, we'll start it at 50. Now I want to see how high it goes. So that could be... Yeah, I get the impression it goes between 50 and 80. So if it would be like... But let's listen one more time just to kind of make sure. And I'll kind of play along with it just to see if I'm close. It might actually be 90. I just want to listen one more time. I want to hear how many octaves it goes through. Once it gets to the bottom. So I'll count. 1, 2, 3. Well, it sounds like 3. So yeah, I'm going to say 50 and 80. So something like that. That's basically what I'm going to do. So my closed filter, as close as it's going to be, is at 50. And the next thing I need to do is I need to assign this frequency. Under my filter mod, I'm going to assign the frequency to a knob. Most analog synths tend to use knobs when it comes to, deciding if your sweeps are not controlled automatically. Manually, they tend to be knobs. You don't see a lot of analog synths that do it a different way. So I'm going to assign this to a knob here. So my filter select velocity doesn't matter, but I do want my assignment. So instead of the ribbon, I'm going to assign it to the knob 5. So let's try that. And we're going to go up 30 because it's going from 50 to 80. And so 30 is the difference. Okay, I might have selected the wrong one here. Let's try that. Okay. Oh, this is just handling the mid gain. Hang on a second. So what I'm doing right now is I'm using the knobs, but instead of controlling the tone, it's controlling the channel strip control. So I want to actually use the Yeah, I'm messing with tone adjust now. That's not quite right. Hang on. Well, let me save it first real quick here. I must need to calibrate the screen. Alright, okay, let's try this. Yeah, this is one of those things where, oh, is it module control? Yeah. Ah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. I was just pressing the wrong button on the left-hand side. You have to press the RT knob /karma button to get access to like user control stuff. And that was just my own lack of knowledge because I don't usually do that. Okay, so that bothers me. I'm hearing it go bew, bew, like that. That means my EG is being impacted, and I do not want that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set this all to 0. Let's make it flat, because I want the control to happen. I guess technically I could set them all to 100, but I want all the control to happen from me, not... Well, yeah, actually, I probably should assign them to 100 here. Just so it's fully on and my control happens at the knob level. So let's do this. And we want no release. Well, we want our release time rather just to be 0. So let's try this. Alright, so far so good. So basically what was happening, just to kind of explain what I've done, because I'm in patchmaking mode right now, and I'm not really in teaching / explaining mode. So what I've done is I've figured out the resonance. Basically I knew it was a resonant pass filter. I could hear it whenever you're listening to the sound. So knowing that that's the case, I needed to increase the resonance here, and that gives you your kind of wishy sweep sound. Once that was done, next thing I needed to do is assign or control where this happens. So that's where I assigned my resonance. Well, I have my resonance assigned. It was my frequency of where the cutoff starts to happen. And when we go into our filter mod, what I've done is I've said, well, you know, I figured out between 50 and 80 is where my sweep happens. So that's a range of 30. When I go into my filter mod, I assign the change to my knob 5, and the intensity is that 30. So whenever my knob's off, it's going to be at 50. When I turn the knob totally clockwise, 100%, it's going to add this 30 to it, making it 80 total. Now the EG, because the EG or the filter, when we're looking at the filter mod, so you'll notice the EG select is saying, well, what is it that we're actually modifying, the EG filter? So we're saying we're going to modify this EG using the mod knob 5 by 30%. When I set this EG to flat and totally 0, there was nothing to modify. So you're adding 30 to nothing. It's if you were to think of putting the sound through here, you're putting the sound through something that's at 0. Adding 30, it's almost like multiplication. When you multiply something by 0, you get 0. It's the same idea here. So by making this 100, you're saying 100% of your EG is being controlled by the mod wheel or by the knob 5, and we're impacting it by a factor, or not a factor, but a number of 30. So far so good. We've got the sweep. So let's just kind of regroup and listen and see if it's close. Okay, sounds good. So far so good. Now let's listen to the actual tone of the sound itself. Now the tone of the sound actually sounds pretty similar, but there are some waveforms that can be a little bit more resy or resonant than others. So what I want to do is I just want to change it from something like pulse. I'm going to try triangle. And the reason I'm trying triangle is because when you listen to the tone, that tone that you're hearing is actually from the actual sound is a little bit more hollow sounding, where the one that we're using on this synth is a little bit more buzzy. So I wanted to try something that's a little bit more round. Okay, now the only problem that I have with this is if you listen to mine, what you're hearing is we're hearing it in kind of phases where it's the more simple your harmonic material is, a lot of times what will happen is you're going to get not aliasing, but mathematically you're going to get factors where there's some sort of cancellation. So I almost need to use something that's a little bit more, has a lot more harmonic content. So I'm going to change like the pulse width, and let's see if that changes it. Okay. Still kind of hearing it, and what I'm talking about when I'm hearing, or what I'm listening for, is that the sweep isn't smooth. It happens in like stages. So if you listen, so it's the third, the fifth, the seventh octave, 9, 10, sharp 11. There's your well, I guess it's an octave in 5. There's your octave in 7. 2 octaves. And now you'll notice when we get higher, you hear all the steps in between. So instead of just hearing the first, the third, the fifth, the seventh, and so on, you want to hear all the notes. So if you listen to the recording, now I did hear it a little bit. So I did hear it in the album or the recording that there is just a little bit where it's actually doing the harmonics lower, like, and all that could be an indication of, to me, is that the filter is too resonant still. So I'm going to back that off just a little bit. The other thing I can do is actually try and make this full resonance instead and see if that makes a difference. No, still kind of the same thing. So we're going to take this resonance and just drop it down a little bit. Better, but it's not resonant enough. Well, this may or may not work. Let me try a different, like a different filter, like 12 dB instead of 24. It might not make a difference at all, though. Yeah, no, the only difference is when you open up the filter, now it's letting more through. So I'm going to try the 24. And I'm going to try some trickery with the effects, just to see if there's something I can do with the EQ to help get some of the content, harmonic content through. But we kind of need to leave this resonance here. So let me bring this back down to 90. See if it's still okay. Okay. And I mean, you know, again, this is one of those situations where this is probably fine. You know, like the person requesting this might go, you know what, this sounds great, I'm happy. But as somebody who's actually doing this, like making this sound, I'm not happy with it. I want it to be closer. So I'm going to fiddle fart, well, as they say. Okay, that's sounding a little bit more thick. what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to find some of the frequency ranges of the like the odd harmonics that aren't coming out, and I'm trying to bring them out using the oscillator. So there, I'm like kind of halfway in between the third and the fifth. If I can bring the harmonic out by changing the waveform, then it'll be a little bit smoother transition the whole way. It doesn't seem to change anything, so we'll leave that. Let's see what this does. Okay, that sounds a bit better. I'm actually kind of okay with that. So... yeah, no, it's... you know, I'm kind of okay with it now, but then I go back and listen, and it's... this one's still too quantized, so while I could do it this way, I'm actually going to save it. You know what? Join me in part 2, because in part 2 I'm going to try a different approach, maybe using effects instead of the filter in the AL synth. I'll still use the same tone, the same sound, but instead of using this filter, instead of using this, I'm actually going to use effects instead and see if I can get a smoother response using the effects instead. So join me in a minute, or join me for part 2, and we'll see you then.